Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour is the UAE about to jump into the Iran war, and how WashDOT and SDOT will save some bike lanes, but not my house. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it's a special day today. That's right. It is May the 4th, as in May the 4th be with you. And as opposed to having a new hope this year, the Democratic empire is on the march here in Washington, destroying possibly every business they can get their hands on. And the real question is, which one is going to be next? So, my friends, Representative Pramila Jayapal, this weekend decided to set her sights on REI. Here's what she said.
I've been a member of REI for decades. REI grew up in Seattle, and it's important to a lot of us. But unfortunately, throughout this administration, we've seen way too many companies feel emboldened to blatantly violate workers' rights. REI has a chance to be different, like it's always been. And right now, it is falling way short. Refusing to reach a deal with your workers after years of bargaining is not leadership. It's a failure to respect the workers who built the company. REI leadership needs to change course immediately. Stop union busting and negotiate a fair contract in good faith. We, as your members, are watching, and we expect a lot better. REI, you can still choose to do the right thing. The path forward is simple. Stop breaking the law and give workers a contract. Check out REI.com for more.
Okay, Pramila Jayapal being a member of REI for decades is like me being a member of REI for decades. Can we be real about what it means to be a member of REI? We all know what this means. You get your little membership card, right? And if you shop there, you get rewards. Maybe from time to time around Christmas time, you get that, hey, here's a $3 thing you got for being a member of the co-op. Now go buy a $1,000 bicycle at REI, right? This is what it means to be a member of REI.
If you say so. Yeah. I mean, I was never the biggest REI guy anyways. Like, I don't know.
Okay, I'm telling you that's what it means to be a member of REI.
Like, there is no other club that you can pay for or something? Or is this just like a rewards sort of thing?
It's technically a co-op business.
Okay.
So you're a member of the co-op like with PCC or anything else?
I did not know that about REI. That's how much of a blind spot it is for me.
Okay. So I know REI because when you need ski gear in a pinch and your kids go skiing every Sunday, that's where you're going. If you got a friend coming to town who wants to rent gear, it's cheaper at renting it at REI than on the mountain. If your kid wants that brand new bicycle that all the other kids have that for some reason you can't get at Greg Cycles, you can mortgage your house and you can go to REI to get that thing.
Well, I was a poor, so I didn't do the skiing. That was a bit too expensive for my family.
Yes.
Everything involved with it. And then when I was a kid, the only cool bikes you'd want were BMX bikes.
And Huffies. BMX and Huffies, because that's what all the kids wanted, the BMX for the stunts, or they wanted the Huffies because they gave them away.
We've litigated this before.
Yes.
BMX is a style of bike.
Oh, I see. Yes, we
Huffy
have done
is a
this.
brand.
You're right. We have done this before.
When I was a kid, Mongoose and Hutch is what you're looking for. The kid with the Huffy, I mean, that thing weighed too much to be doing bunny hops and whatnot.
Yeah, and let's be real. We didn't do a lot of them tricks. We thought we were doing them tricks. Oh, my God, you see him? He went off that little piece of wood we built off the curb. Oh! Most of my friends were not doing the cool stuff on the bikes.
So anyways, REI Club, yes, go.
Good. Okay, now you're with me. Now we're on the same page. So REI's employees want to unionize. These are their union employees, all mad that they're not getting a contract.
After 4 years of negotiating a first contract with REI, we're here today asking you to join us in a boycott for REI's anniversary sale from May 15th to May 25th.
That's how you get a contract. Let's boycott the business. So then when they have less money, they're more than happy to give it to us. That's what's going to happen. You know, Pramila Jayapal is always on the wrong side of these things. She showed up at the Ventifada protest that was targeting Starbucks, and now Starbucks is leaving. So now she's on the side of these morons? I have a question. When did it go from working at REI was the job you had after school or through college or in the summers to I need a living wage to work at REI, folding too expensive shorts that are too tight for cyclists who around here all act like they're sponsored by Pepsi in the Tour de France. No, that is not a job you're supposed to have the rest of your life. That is a temporary job. You're not supposed to have that job for years and years and years. Look, you want to move up the corporate ladder? And you want to be the one who's ordering those shorts that are too tight and too expensive and too spandexy and aren't fooling anybody into thinking you're sponsored by Pepsi in the Tour de France? Okay, work your way up the corporate ladder. But just a random retail person? Spare me.
REI, this little friendly outdoor company, they want to be just like Amazon or Musk or Starbucks or Tesla, and they want wage slaves, no matter how progressive they claim to be. This week,
Wage slaves. They want wage slaves. For those of you who don't know, REI is one of the wokest companies in Seattle. All they do is talk about climate and hiking and all that. They're an outdoorsy company. That's what they're supposed to be doing. But they're also on the left side of pretty much everything. So I know some of you are saying right now, good, let them go. Let them go. But you can only do that for so many companies until there's no more companies left. But now they're finding out this is what you get rewarded with. You get rewarded with employees like this.
we got the company back to the table, and we made a series of proposals that were extremely concessionary, and finally the
Extremely concessionary, like boycotting the company you work for?
company met us with something that was degrading and insulting.
I feel like these progressive companies have put on such a facade. It is just very clear that there are more people that are from Amazon and from big oil that are just making decisions based.
Lady, oil's in pretty much every product at REI. You know why? Because that's how things are made. That's how things are made. Tell me you don't know anything about the world without telling me you don't know anything about the world.
Off of bottom lines and spreadsheets. If REI
Oh, how dare your company work off of spreadsheets and bottom lines. Oh, how dare your company want to make a profit.
isn't going to take us seriously, we think the only thing that they will take seriously is their pocketbook.
They hired Morgan Lewis to represent them. It's a law firm that has represented Elon Musk, President Trump, and they're just an international labor-busting giant.
Oh, no. They hired a good law firm that successful people use. Oh, no.
And we're just some little guys. We've been trying to get this contract for 4 years.
I think REI's leadership right now is so anti-worker and so bent on eroding basically anything that the labor movement still has today, and I think it's disgusting.
While REI is still trying to save face and put off the front that they are this co-op that has everybody's best intentions in mind, stewarding the future, stewarding the land, it is a false narrative in the way that I understand it when I'm sitting in the room with these lawyers that do not want me to make a living wage.
So the company is telling us, that they're in tough times, that we all have to tighten our belts, but with sales that they've reported of $3.5 billion, seems like they could reinvest in their workforce, take better care of us, give us reliable schedules. I mean, we're holding the stores together.
Okay, that last guy isn't holding anything together and he's not tightening his belts. That last guy is double me in size. He is not tightening, and well, maybe his pants are getting a little tight. But let me tell you, here's something else about that dude. He's wearing a vest with patches on it. One of the patches is Antifa. That is an Antifa militant. Oh, they're not giving us what I want. You know what I think you guys should do after the boycott? Why don't you go down there and smash out a few windows and show them you mean business? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That was a joke. So, you think it's just a big bad company that's in all kinds of that's just coming after you guys just about profit? Maybe you guys should have stayed in school. Maybe you guys should have actually looked at the numbers. REI posted a $311 million net loss in 2023, marking its second consecutive year of losses. Losses date back to 2021, showing a multi-year financial downturn. Revenue fell 2 to 6% declines depending on year due to a weaker outdoor retail market Oh, you mean nobody wants to go to places like Portland and Seattle anymore to go shop at REI? And external factors like consumer demand shifts. Oh, you mean nobody wants to pay $1,000 for a bicycle anymore and can get them cheaper online? What are some of the key drivers of the losses? Higher than average wages for employees, continuing to pay member dividends and rewards despite the losses, investments in operational missteps like commercial overhaul. So now they're cutting costs and restructuring to try to stay afloat. Let's hit them with a boycott. Let's do that. No matter how woke you are, you're never woke enough for the far left. And now they are going to boycott this company. If I was REI, I'd say goodbye to Seattle. I'd say no more of this place. Now you've got a sitting member of Congress targeting the business. You now have her doing that, and the last business she targeted moved to Nashville. This is what they want. They just want to chase out every single company.
We're doomed.
That's what they want to do today on Revenge of the 5th. Oh, wait, that's tomorrow. Today's actual Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, which is not the day where Star Wars actually came out. This is the most anti-business environment you could possibly have, where Democrats target companies, where they pay the tax revenue that funds their stupid social programs, and as opposed to saying thank you, it's how can we get more of that money? How can we steal more of that money? How can we have more people break into your business? How can we have more people steal from your business? Hey, wait a minute. You think all those homeless people got those brand new tents by buying them? Do you know what a tent costs at REI? I ain't buying no tents at REI. I don't think they're buying them at REI, if you catch my drift.
I love this, too, in that piece of audio, the people that were like, I thought it was a company that was progressive, blah, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, quietly, people are just going and buying tents and things like that for as cheap as they can find it. It's the best quality for the cheapest.
Yes.
I haven't been in REI and I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But all I remember every time I was in there was how expensive everything was. And there was probably a time where people would pay a premium knowing that they're supporting something progressive or whatever.
Yes.
But once those people start supporting it or enough of them aren't out there, inevitably something like this is going to start to happen.
Right. Also,
like they still have to make a profit.
Right. And it's a down economy. So the person goes, you know what, little Timmy, we would have bought you the electric bike with the motor and with the everything. You're going to get a regular, old school bicycle. And we're going to go buy that for you because your old bike isn't working out so well. You got a little bit bigger. We're not dropping the $1,000 on that bicycle. Well, Toys R Us ain't around anymore. Where's Amazon? This is the size we're buying it from, and it's going to be $300, and you're going to be happy with it. And guess what? We might have to put it together ourselves. Might have to do that. Yesterday, I was shopping for mulch. Okay? I don't have a truck anymore. I sold my truck. So I didn't want to haul it myself. So I go, all right, Amazon, let's see how much it costs for the mulch on Amazon. I go to Amazon. It was a fortune. A fortune. So I go, I wonder if there's another option. Lowe's, haven't been there in a while. I go on their website, half the price. It was half the price, and they delivered it, and it was there this morning. So, boom, done. That is what the average consumer does these days. You don't need to get the spandex shorts that are too tight for you, out of shape, older, middle-aged individual. You are not sponsored by Pepsi in the Tour de France. You can get regular mesh shorts at Costco for a fraction of the price than you can get them from REI. But now, when this company is down, you've got Pramila Jayapal coming along and going, let's just curb stomp them a little bit. And now their employees are going to say, you know what? Let's boycott this company. Because the truth is, they want to own the company. They want to run the company, and they want the profits from the company. Sounds like socialism to me. Sounds like capitalism to me. Not capitalism. Sounds like communism to me, where they just seize the means of production. That sounds like what they want to do. That's exactly what this is, and you're going to chase away another company. That's what you're going to do. You're going to chase more people out of here. Working at REI is not supposed to be a living wage. It is supposed to be a job you do after school. It's supposed to be a job you do in the summers. You're not supposed to be 30, 40 years old and still folding those really expensive shorts at REI. That's not what you're supposed to be doing with your lives. And yet REI this whole time has been paying higher than minimum wage with other benefits and other upsides, just like Starbucks. But you can never be progressive enough for the far left. So now they're targeting REI. Do you think REI is going to stick around, or you think REI is just going to lay off and lay off and lay off until they disappear? Because I've noticed some of them stores ain't around the way they used to be. What do you think is going to happen with REI, and are you happy about it, or are you sad about it? You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. See, this one here, Robin Lakewood is saying, hey, commies, move to China. That's what he's saying about REI. Guys, we say that about every lefty business here. Guess what? There's not going to be any left. There's not going to be any left. You know what? I'll tell you something else with Pramila Jayapal. Okay, Jeff and Kent says Pramila is Captain Phasma. No, Captain Phasma is way better looking than, even under that helmet, than Pramila Jayapal. There's a bunch of other characters in Star Wars that I think she more looks like. What's the name of that critter that sits on Jabba the Hutt with the ears? What's his name? Something Salacious Crumb.
Yeah, it's Salacious Crumb.
Salacious Crumb.
Apparently, some sort of a monkey of some sort.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I thought it's like the crumb cake you get in Entenmann's. Like you get some Salacious Crumb up on there.
I'm saying the species. The species is some sort of a monkey of some sort. But yeah, Salacious Crumb.
Salacious
My brother in high school, when I was younger, I had the playset that had that guy.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it went missing.
Your Salacious Crumb or your
Salacious Crumb
playset?
that came with the Jabba the Hutt playset. It was like you'd set him right there next to Jabba. He went missing. I had no idea where he was. And I was like, I think my older brother took him.
Yes.
And he told my parents, no, I didn't take it. And he was in 6th grade. He took him and drew something on him that I can't say on the radio.
Yes.
And was setting him on his desk as his mascot in class. And then at the end of the school year, he returned it and said, oh, hey, look, I found it. The tail was broken off,
yes,
and there was something drawn on it.
So I did one of those toy trades for the Jabba playset. So I got the Jabba, I got the throne, I got the Salacious Crumb, but that thing where he eats the frogs out of was all missing parts, and there was a lot of missing parts from that playset when I got that guy.
That part always fell apart, and then you couldn't find it, and then it would break up to a point where you're like, "What is this? I don't even know what this is." And it gets thrown away.
Yeah, it just ended up that way. I don't know. It's probably in some closet or garage somewhere in my house. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, Seattle is trying to destroy my house. I kid you not. Between Seattle Public Utilities and the Department of Transportation in favor of bike lanes. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. I got so mad this morning because there are some Seattle Department of Transportation workers out near my house. And let me walk you through this odyssey just to explain to you the insanity of the city we live in. All right. I live on a steep slope. I have a beautiful view of Lake Washington and Mount Rainier. It's great. I got it really cheap years ago. Thank God my in-laws helped me buy it in the first place. It has now gone skyrocketing in value because that's what happens around here. I've added to it over time. But below me has always been the steep slope that I worry about. And I've always done whatever I could to maintain the thing. Well, my next door neighbor has been doing work on two houses. There's one house his parents are moving into. There's one house he's moving into. And that's fine. It's lovely. It's fantastic. But during this work, what happened is an underground stream popped up on my property from all the stuff, all the groundwork being done. It happens. Okay. So the way I found out this happened, the other night, a friend of mine who lives below me calls me and says, dude, there is water pouring off your property, and it's dry outside because it's been dry all week. These are things you don't notice in the winter because you just assume it's wet all the time. So what happens? I go down there, and there's water everywhere, free flowing, and I'm worried, did a water main break? But it seems to be coming off my hill and my neighbor's hill more so than usual. I'm getting concerned. Is there a leak in the sewer? Is there a leak in a water line? What is it? So I call Seattle Public Utilities. And what happens? Seattle Public Utilities says they're going to send somebody out. Okay, they don't tell me anything. The next day, there's a guy from Seattle Public Utilities who apparently listens to the show working on my block, and he was very nice. He's like, yeah, let me go see what's going on. He goes down to the bottom of the hill, does a test, come back up, and he says to me, oh, they did a test, and they found out it's natural spring water. It's not sewer. It's not anything else. It is a natural spring, which means we're probably going to have to deal with it and figure out how we do this because we granted the permits. Great, wonderful, fantastic. In the meantime, there is mud coming down the hill, which means I'm getting a little nervous about my house because this is when you see the story the next day on the news. How did a house end up in the middle of Bellevue Way or something? Oh, the city knew about it and the city didn't do anything about it. So I'm getting more and more frustrated the longer this is going on for. But today, I'm driving by and I see there's a bunch of members of of Seattle Department of Transportation, SDOT, out there working on the street. And I get all excited. I'm like, oh, they finally came and they're going to deal with this and they're going to address this. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, how can we address this? How are they going to do it? So you know what? I park my car. I'm like, I'll be a little late to the studio today. Let me go find out what they're doing. Now, let me take you back in time for a second so you understand this. Wilson Avenue, which is underneath my house, years ago, they did a very controversial bike lane project. And they installed bike lanes on both sides of the street, which is not where cyclists actually go. They go down to Lake Washington Boulevard. And in the process, what they did was they did those protected bike lanes where they put these big planters out there and then they put the parking lane right next to it. Well, what happened? The planters started ending up in the middle of the street because people would hit them all the time. Cars are getting nicked all the time. Plus, in doing this, they got rid of the parking that people had in front of their houses for the bike lanes. And some members of the handicap community now can't park their cars in front of their houses to get in and out. Bravo, Seattle. Thanks so much. In addition to that, they did this on a Jewish holiday, knowing the Jews wouldn't be driving that much that day for their study about how this was going to impact traffic so they could claim it was less people driving. Now, a lot of people in the neighborhood can't make that blind turn over onto Seward Park Avenue or Wilson Avenue, depending on where you're looking at the sucker. And there's been accident after accident after accident because you cannot see around the corners when you're making the turns. You just can't. So what happens? You have these accidents all the time. Okay, everybody with me so far? Great. So there are these bike lanes under my house that nobody uses. So I come out there this morning. And what happens? Seattle Department of Transportation, very nice fellows that are out there. And I say, hey, guys, what are you doing? And they said, we're cleaning the bike lanes. And I said, what do you mean you're cleaning the bike lanes? And they go, well, there's all this water and all this mud and all that, and we got to clean up the bike lanes. I said, you're kidding me, right? Why aren't they addressing the mud? Why aren't they addressing the water? Why aren't they addressing anything else? And he says, well, this is kind of how it goes. Normally, we'll report there's a problem, and they just keep letting it run till the street collapses, and then they have to come fix the street and the bike lanes. So they were out there cleaning the bike lanes, which nobody uses today, rather than dealing with the massive hill of mud that might end up in the middle of Wilson Avenue. If that is not Seattle Department of Transportation, Seattle Public Utilities, and everything summed up in a nutshell, I don't know what is. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take call from Ted in Gig Harbor. Ted, what's going on, man?
Well, about the REI thing, those people don't want to. They don't want to own the company. They don't want to take the risk. They don't want to do the work. They just want the money.
Yes, exactly. And they think they can run the company better than the people who run the company. But then again, given the fact that the company's not doing so well, that might not be entirely untrue.
No, I think it would go under in a year.
Yeah.
Without any
well, because
question.
they would redistribute the wealth. Oh, homeless people, you need tents? It's free for all homeless people. Isn't that what they would do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, Seattle Department of Transportation. Yeah, there's some real pros there.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Exactly. So this is just par for the course. I mean, there's a street nearby which I used to drive my kids on all the time when I was driving them to school. It was under construction for years. I drove it the other day. The whole thing's covered in potholes. It's brand new. You want to explain that one to me?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Goodness sakes.
Yeah. Is it that bad in Gig Harbor, Ted, or you guys don't have these problems?
No, I don't know of any problems like that. I think Seattle is in a league of its own.
Yes, probably very, very true. Appreciate the call, Ted. Yeah. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Dave from Sierra Nevada texted us. He said, the last time I was in REI, they did not have fishing stuff. I guess hiking and camping gear, you get that, but no killing fish. Is that what it is? Have they ever had fishing gear? I don't know. I know the bike section. I know the ski section. That's all I know at REI.
You would think they'd have something like that, but it doesn't surprise me that they don't, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not about hunting and fishing. They're more about camping and hiking.
Right. You want that, you go to Dick's Sporting Goods. You know what they are? They're not for the get yourself dirty camping experience. They're for the prestigious camping experience where you don't pitch your own tent. Somebody pitches it for you kind of deal. Like you throw it on the whitewater rafting boat when you're going, but the dude sets up your tent where you're going. That's what it sounds like.
I don't know if I would say it goes that far because I knew a lot of hippie-ish, granola-ish people that would go and get their stuff there because they're purely going out and camping because they like to hike and be in the wilderness.
Yes.
But they're not hunting. They're not fishing. They're not doing that sort of thing. Typically, again, I don't want to stereotype here, and I'm thinking back on what REI was back in the day, but I'm assuming it's probably the same still kind of vibe going on there.
I would assume so. Haven't been there in quite some time, though, because the last few times I went, there wasn't much of a selection. So you know what I did? I said, well, they don't have this, and the only one they got is $1 gajillion. So you know where I'm going to go? Pull out my phone. Hey, Amazon probably should have done this in the first place and wouldn't have had to drive down there.
It's turned into one of those Amazon showrooms.
Not even. They don't have a good selection
where you go
anymore.
in, but if you want to tangibly, like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, this is what the weight of this.
Exactly.
Okay, this is pretty good. Oh, yeah, thank you. You leave and you order it wherever that's cheaper.
Exactly. When we come back, my friends, Brian Haywood from Let's Go Washington is going to be joining us to weigh in on what happened at the Washington State Supreme Court today. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Earlier today, the Washington State Supreme Court rejected Let's Go Washington's case for a referendum on the income tax. Now, don't worry, my friends. You still get to do the initiative process. But joining us now on the Warrior Injury Law studio line to explain all this to us from Let's Go Washington, its founder, Brian Haywood. Thanks so much for being with us on such short notice today, buddy.
Hey, my pleasure. I wish we were celebrating a victory, but we live in Washington State when it comes to Supreme Court. So here we are.
Yes, exactly right. So let me make sure I got this right. Basically, what you guys were challenging was the fact that, once again, there's a kind of emergency clause on this, even though the income tax doesn't go into effect for a couple years. And that means you can't do a referendum, which is a lot easier than an initiative process. Does that about sum it up?
It does. There's some nuance, sort of nuance for nerds, I guess, in the weeds here. The Supreme Court, within the clause, like the emergency clause, actually says, here's some emergency things. And in these cases, you can't do the legislature can prevent a referendum. What we've been arguing is that the last piece of that, which is for the necessity of running the state, is included in the emergency. And the court ruled today, basically, no, it doesn't have to be an emergency. They can just decide to do that. So for any reason whatsoever, the legislature can say, we don't want to give voters a right to have a referendum on any tax that we pass. That's essentially what happened today. But there's something really important in what they said. In the wording that the Supreme Court wrote, they said, consistent, I'm going to read this, consistent with the words of the Constitution and our unbroken line of precedent. They basically ruled against us. Now, the reason I think that's super important is because we have, there's a second case, which is the very constitutionality of the income tax itself. And if this court is going to be consistent and hold on to their, as they say, our unbroken line of precedent, there's way more precedent on an income tax being illegal and unconstitutional.
Yes.
So I think we had a small loss today. I would like to have had the referendum, but I think we had a big win, in my view. The court now has set their own standard by which they should be judging the constitutionality of the income tax.
You guys should take a screenshot of that and post that online as soon as possible. We're talking with Let's Go Washington founder Brian Haywood about the decision today. Now, let's make this clear for the audience right now. This still means we can do an initiative, right? That's why on the Let's Go Washington website, people can request those initiative sheets, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
We need people to. We're going through the process. We're working through, within the next week or so, I'll have an answer for you whether we're doing an initiative to the people or to the legislature. I've got initiatives for both in the chamber already being reviewed by the Secretary of State and getting ready to be mulled by the Attorney General's office. But we'll make that decision. We'll be out there. What we want is for people to sign up now, and we'll send them sheets as soon as everything's ready.
Right. And as I understand it, the Attorney General gets to write some of the language, which is what they did last time and made it all goofy. I mean, what could they do this time? It's just, should we have an income tax? Should we not have an income tax? End of story. God knows what they're going to do it this time and maybe make you write yes instead of no. Who knows?
Yeah, the big thing that they do, there's two places that they can mess with us. One is there's actually three places that we get messed with. One is they can say, this impacts K through. They just lie. This is K through 12 education. It doesn't matter whether it goes to them or not. And that's a hard thing to overcome at the ballot. And they know it, and so they do it. Second thing is they can make it super confusing so people don't know whether they're voting yes to vote no or no to vote yes or have a Star-Belly Sneetch on their stomach or whatever. They can make it confusing, right?
Yeah.
And then the third thing that's going on, and I think this is sort of a side story, but Bob Ferguson just appointed what's his name? I forgot his last name now. Segal, a guy that's the founder of Pacifica Law, as the new head of the PDC.
Wait a second.
The reason is
his own lawyers who are donating tons of money to him are now in charge of the PDC where you file complaints against the governor?
The very watchdog is Bob Ferguson. The head of the watchdog group is Bob Ferguson's personal lawyer and the founder of Pacifica Law. And the reason I'm bringing Pacifica Law up is that when the Attorney General gives a confusing ballot title, Pacifica Law is the major filer of complaints against those titles, right? They say, no, this title isn't confusing enough. And they're really not doing it for the title, although I'm sure there's some little benefit from that. But they're really doing it so they can delay the process. So they wait, like you have like 5 days to challenge the title once the Attorney General writes it. They wait until the last day on Friday at 4 o'clock, and then they throw their challenge in as a tactic to shorten the number of days you have to gather signatures. So these are the processes we've got in front of us right now.
This is crazy, the amount of hoops they're making you jump through. So you guys are ready to deal with this. I mean, they did this to you last time. You successfully got them out there. I think you have a good message this time. It's just a matter of tailoring that message to whatever craziness they come up with for the ballot title and what the language actually says, right?
That's right. And I really think this time what we find is if they can really stick it to the millionaires, if that's the story that sticks, they win. I mean, if we just lay it out there, right? People are like, screw it doesn't hurt me, screw them. But if you get people just asking the question, do you think this will come and impact you? Just asking that very question, it switches 60-40, we win. Right? Because people know, everyone knows, Jamie Peterson's out there just lying his teeth off. The pie crust promise, it wasn't anything, I didn't, whatever he's going to say. No one believes them for a second that this is not going to go. Even their own legislators are saying, this is going to definitely expand. So I think that's part of the message. One is that it's coming for you, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the second thing that people need to the question they need to ask themselves is, even if you support taxes and you think generally that's a good thing, how has the stewardship of your money been with this current legislative body? And I think the fraud and the waste and the loss of money in all layers of government here in Washington State should force you to go, can we just back up a minute and let's get our spending settled first? Let's spend the money wisely before we start raising more money.
Yeah, and they don't do that around here. Brian Haywood, if people want to sign up to get those initiative sheets sent to them or volunteer to go collect signatures, what's the best way for them to do it right now?
Go on letsgowa.com, letsgowa.com. And we've got sign-up sheets, we've got donation sheets, we've got a place for you to sign up to volunteer. You can get all your information there. Letsgowa.com.
Well, while I got you on the phone, whatever you guys need me for those events gathering signatures, you just let me know. I'm signing up for it, even though it costs me my press pass every time, thanks to the Washington legislature. But I am more than happy to help you guys out for a good cause. And also, everybody needs to realize is the Democrats are going to throw every dollar they possibly can at this because they want your money for the rest of time, which means you need to step up, volunteer, and donate to stop this. Brian Haywood, founder of Let's Go Washington, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
You bet. Can I mention one more thing? Do you have a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's really important for people to follow the Supreme Court races this year. There are 5 Supreme Court justices up for election in November. This is unprecedented. We never had a chance to shape the Supreme Court like this, and we're going to have some decent candidates actually running, which is also sort of unprecedented, against some constitutional guys that are going to run against the we'll do whatever we want Supreme Court. And I hope people will start learning about that, and we'll be putting more information out on that.
Well, also send them my way because we have all these candidates. Send them to us. We'll have them on the show so people can learn more about them. And I'll tell you something else. I think a forum moderated by me and Brandy and a few other people with these judges could be a great event. And then you have the video from that to get their name out in front of more people because the mainstream media won't do it.
I love it. That's a great idea. We'll see what we can do to work that out.
Yeah, let's put it together. In fact, I think what we should do is challenge whoever's running against them to show up to the same forum where we do debates for each of them, and they never will. And then you get to have the empty chair there, RNC Barack Obama style. We'll see if we can get Clint Eastwood to come out and join us, too. Brian Haywood, appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being part of the show. Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much for fighting so hard on behalf of all of us here in Washington. Up next, my friends, speaking of fighting hard, looks like we're about to get some help in the war against Iran. And speaking of unprecedented, this is historically unprecedented. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show.
will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
I just had to do that for Star Wars Day. I just had to hit that one with the swamp today. So today, Iran decided, hey, we're not in enough trouble. Let's start attacking the United Arab Emirates. Now, one of the big mistakes Iran made in this whole conflict is saying, we're going to close the Strait of Hormuz and cut off everybody else's oil. So now you've got all the people in the Gulf, all the different Arab countries saying, how do we get around the Strait of Hormuz? Okay, we'll build pipelines. We don't want to have to deal with this nonsense anymore. We're going to up our oil production because we can make money because people aren't buying that Iranian oil anymore. They're going to need somewhere else to go. And then Iran decides to start launching missiles at everybody. Are you insane? You launch missiles and you claim, oh, it's just because we're attacking the U.S. military bases? Are you insane? You're in a fight with the biggest, baddest country in the entire world, the U.S. of A., and its awesome, scrappy little brother, Israel. And you say, let's pick a fight with the entire Arab world. So we know that the UN isn't going to do anything about this. Why?
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
What's worse, D.C. or the UN? I don't know. But what's happening is the Abraham Accords, a deal that was signed in the first Trump administration between Israel, Morocco, UAE, Bahrain, all these Arab countries is actually reshaping the Middle East, where now they're saying the problem is Iran. The problem is not Israel. The problem is not the Palestinians. The problem is Iran. They're funding all the problems. So can we take them out? So what happens is earlier today, we had Iran attack the UAE again, and the UAE says, we're not putting up with this nonsense anymore. So now they're coming to fight, and they were probably going to do this beforehand. They're coming to fight alongside Israel and America against Iran. And they're going to go after the Iranian targets. You know what I think the perfect deal is? Let them invade Karg Island. Let them go after it. No American boots on the ground. Let them and Israel take care of it. We'll keep up the embargo on the strait. We'll keep up the blockade. We'll do that. And I think this is the way to go. Wait a minute. Hang on. A blockade of a country. Well, it is Star Wars Day around here. Ah, I see what's going on. Now, this might actually speed things up because also Iran attacked some U.S. ships today. Why? Because the U.S. ships said, we're going to escort anybody who needs to go through that strait, come get us. So they start sending these little fast attack boats, which are basically glorified Zodiacs or Boston whalers, to attack the U.S. Navy. Good luck with that, guys. Let's see how that works out for you. I think this thing is about to be over sooner than we expected. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take call from Adam in Sumner. Adam, what's going on?
Okay, so I got a few things to hit you with. First of all, I sent you an email, Ari at KBI, and I thought you might be interested. My grandfather was an American history professor here in Washington State, and he's pushing 100, so he wrote some memoirs of his lived experiences, and he did touch on the history of income tax. So I sent you some screenshots of that. I thought you might like to see those.
Thank you. I'll check them out.
Now, I got a couple questions. So first of all, didn't the UAE just pull out of OPEC? And second, does Initiative 2111 have no weight in this income tax thing?
Great questions. So let's leave the UAE one for a second, okay? Basically, you had Jamie Peterson, who's the Senate Majority Leader, say it was a pie crust promise. We didn't really mean it. So we can break the thing we passed. In a normal world, you would say this is law. You can't do that in a normal world. But who do we have at the Supreme Court? Oh, right. We've got all of the Inslee and Ferguson appointees who then ran as incumbents and got themselves elected as incumbents. And we have Ferguson doing that all over again. So you're 100% right. In a normal world, that would stop them, but we don't live in a normal world. Now, with regard to the UAE, what's happening here? The UAE pulled out of OPEC because they want to sell more oil, they want to produce more oil, and those guys act like a group together. Now, them pulling out actually inspired OPEC to say, okay, if they're doing this, we don't want to be left behind. So now they're upping their oil production, which actually could affect gas prices as well, because when there's more supply, there's less demand, and this might help anything out. Does that cover it for you, Adam?
Okay, yeah, so the 2111 was actually one of the ones the legislature passed. It didn't get passed by the voters. Well, they didn't give us the opportunity.
Well, what happened was it was to the legislature, so the legislature said, "Okay, we'll pass this thing, and then we can break it if we want to," which is what happened. Okay. We got the signatures. We didn't end up voting on it. We're going to end up voting on it this time. I'm going to go look for that email after the show today, Adam. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, local journalists get attacked by Antifa on Press Freedom Day. We'll tell you what happened when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, major retailers aren't just fleeing Seattle, they're also fleeing Portland. But before we get to any of that, I want to remind you guys of our Red, White, and Win contest going on right now at KVI.com. And you can only enter at KVI.com. It's your chance to win 2 tickets to one of the following shows: Lionel Richie with Earth, Wind, and Fire, Santana and the Doobie Brothers, or Toto featuring Christopher Cross and the Romantics. These tickets are all on sale now at LiveNation.com, and this contest is only running through Tuesday. So today is your second to last chance to enter to win at KVI.com. You can only enter to win at KVI.com, and you're going to have to give us a little bit of personal information so we know who you are when you enter to win. So head on over to KVI.com. Plus, you can see new articles from me before we even talk about them on air. Representative Pramila Jayapal. Oh, isn't she wonderful? Thank you, C-3PO, for Star Wars Day. Appreciate you being here. Representative Pramila Jayapal put up a post yesterday. Today is World Press Freedom Day. The U.S. is now ranked 57th in the world for press freedom, and that is rapidly declining as Trump continues to attack journalism. Stop, full stop. Why don't you have a link to this study here? Where's the link to the study? I would love to see it. So many countries don't have freedom of speech. Would you like to tell me which 56 countries outrank us? Please tell me which one. How about Canada? Canada, which if they don't like the slant of your outlet, they don't let you be on the internet in Canada. That one? Is that the one you want to go with? In other countries, if you bash their prime minister, you can go to jail. How about the UK? How about the UK, where if you write the wrong thing on the internet, you can go to jail? You want to tell me we're still 57th in freedom of press? She says democracy needs a strong free press to survive. Okay, how about you call out local Democrats in the Washington State Legislature who denied press passes to me, Brandy Cruz, Jonathan Cho, and others? How about you do that, Pramila? How about you do that? Right, you don't really mean this. This is just an opportunity to attack President Trump. Let's be real, what's happening with journalism right now. Journalism is reformatting. Because there are so many different places you can get your news these days, you don't have to sit through garbage news. You can just go the ones that agree with you. Or you can just go the ones you like to rage hate or rage watch. You can do that. But you don't have to watch the garbage they keep feeding to you. You don't have to do that. For example, the news app on my phone, I don't use it ever. I tried programming it with all of the sources I like, Fox News, New York Post, Newsmax, Daily Wire. It still gave me all the garbage from CNN and MSNBC. So instead, I just go to Fox News, Post Millennial, Daily Wire, Daily Caller to get my news. It's super easy like that. Well, The Stranger has a fun article. Journalists at McClatchy Papers across the Pacific Northwest are preparing for a possible strike. 90% of union members of papers, including the Tacoma News Tribune, the Olympian, Tri-City Herald, Bellingham Herald, and the Idaho Statesman, have voted to potentially walk out after nearly a year of stalled contract negotiations. The fight is over pay. Workers say they can't afford to live in communities they cover, with salary floors as low as $45,000, and the company refusing to raise the floor above $52,000. The next round of negotiations is scheduled for May 5th. Hang on a second here. Can anybody remember the last time I used an article from the Tacoma News Tribune, the Olympian, the Tri-City Herald, or the Bellingham Herald, or the Idaho Statesman? Probably because not that good news is being done over by those guys to even hit my radar. We're never even seeing it. So maybe the problem is your circulation. Maybe the problem is your online presence. Maybe it's your content. But whatever is, it's not ranking very high for us to actually check these out because they're not that interesting. Also, which way do they slant? Which way do they slant, guys? I don't want their news. So now you're mad that you can't live in the cities you cover? Okay, let's do an argument that the Washington Correspondents Association, Capital Correspondents Association, used on me. Well, the gallery is available to you. You don't need to be there to cover the gallery is available to you. You don't need to be able to ask questions. The biggest story I covered this year was the fraud in Washington. I was in the Middle East. I was in Israel on vacation when I broke that story. I was not even in country. With the internet these days, there are things you can do. Can you ask questions if you're not near the person? Well, sometimes they let you ask them online, and sometimes they don't. So I understand the problem there. You're saying you can't live in the city you want to live in? You don't have to live in Seattle. You can live in Renton. You can live in other places nearby. You don't have to live in Seattle to cover Seattle. In fact, there's a lot of people who don't want to live in Seattle anymore. Perhaps it's the content you guys are putting out. Now, for me, what I would say is maybe some of your content is restricted because we found out last week that Turd Ferguson is restricting the flow of information. He was called out by Axios for the fact that they don't get back to press inquiries. They don't tell people when press events are happening. And in fact, Axios, Melissa Santos over there, called him out again today and said he's had more 12 flag raisings than he's had press events where you can ask whatever questions you want. She's 100% right. In addition to that, Turd Ferguson is restricting the flow of information to different outlets by saying that all press inquiries have to go through his office to be signed off on by him, and it's gumming up the works. He is such an egomaniac that he doesn't want anything bad being said about him, and now in the process, he's turning his own press against him. But for all these people who say democracy dies in darkness and we need a free press, I didn't hear any of them call out what happened to me, Brandy Cruz, and Jonathan Cho. Not one of them. I didn't hear any of them call out what happened to Katie Davenport this weekend. Did you see this? Katie's been covering the riots outside the ICE facility down in Portland. The Department of Justice has confirmed that launched an investigation after the post-millennial reporter Katie Davenport was assaulted by an Antifa mob while covering an anti-ICE May Day riot in Portland. Hopefully we're going to have Katie on the show tomorrow. I didn't cut the video because there's a lot of Kevin would just have to bleep the whole thing. Every other word is Antifa going bleep this and bleep that. They're throwing rocks at her. They're mobbing her. They're attacking her. And it basically seemed like the Portland police didn't want to deal with it at all. So she says in the video, it's impossible for me to do my job down at the Portland ICE facility, even with security. I was violently mobbed out by Antifa, and a suspect in black bloc threw a rock at my face. I have zero desire to discuss this further, but everyone is tired of it and wondering why a crackdown on Antifa, a terrorist organization, has not yet occurred. By the way, she's 100% right. Didn't we declare Antifa a domestic terrorist organization a couple months ago now at this point? Katie was at the White House. A few of our other friends, Jonathan Cho, Brandy was at the White House. They were all there talking about Antifa, and then we hear they're going to declare them a terrorist organization, and then they're not actually going after them. You got to treat them like you treat Hamas, like you treat Hezbollah. Go after their finances. I don't understand why there isn't a bigger perimeter around the Portland ICE facility or our local ICE facilities for that matter, because this craziness continues to happen because Portland officials aren't doing anything about it. So a local reporter who's based out of Seattle, who's in Portland on assignment, gets assaulted. I don't hear Pramila Jayapal say anything about that. I don't hear Bob Ferguson say anything about that. I don't hear any local official say anything about that at all. Are you surprised? Now, what happened to Katie Davenport is far worse than what happened to me this weekend. But this weekend, this group that I'm not even going to say their name on air, but these absolute lefty Antifa type losers sent me a death threat. I get this death threat. Here's what the email said over the weekend that I got. Ari Hoffman, it has come to our attention that your subhuman existence does not merit any subtraction from the global oxygen supply. Doesn't sound like they like me very much. That sounds okay. Proudly referring to yourself as a Zionist aggressor, joke's on you guys. You guys started calling me that first. When Israel has murdered an incalculable amount of civilians since 2023 and is facing international criminal summons, actually they're not, spending your days on the radio doing the dirty work of financial and political elites. Kevin, what financial and political elites? Do we get money from any financial or political elites around here? No. propagandizing to the most ignorant and elderly residents of Seattle's suburbs to keep them voting against their own interests. What? What are these guys? What is in their interests? Ah, yes, letting Antifa take over the city. That's definitely in their interest. We should definitely be on your side. Also, you and your bosses can stay paid? What? That's not how this works, guys. You are disgusting Zio scum. Oh, hate crime. Referring to you as a human being makes all human beings look bad by association. And here's where it gets fun. You are hereby challenged to mutual combat at the time and location within Seattle. Well, that's not the time and location of my choosing. Of your choosing. This is legal under Seattle Municipal Code, so don't bother crying to SPD about threats. Actually, that's not the way it works. The way it works under Seattle Municipal Code is if you two are in a bar and you go, let's take this outside, then you're okay. You guys wanting to kill me at a place of your choosing is not legal. Sorry, guys. It's actually online harassment. So they say you should have no problem being a man and accepting this challenge because I preach about Western masculinity and generally pretend to be a tough guy. Kevin, how many times did I call myself fat last week? How many times did I do that? I don't.
Well, let's not forget how many times you talk about how bald you are.
Exactly. So what are we talking about?
But I wonder if this is like Game of Thrones. I don't know if you watched it, but they would have trial by combat.
Is that what this is?
No, I'm just. But it's very similar.
So what you're saying? They're Game of Thrones nerds who are challenging me
what I'm
here.
saying is if they are doing this and it is similar to that, then maybe you could have a proxy, like when Tyrion Lannister, he's the little guy on the show. And he decided to go trial by combat, and they're like, okay, because that's part of the law if you choose to do so. But he's like, well, I look at me, I can't fight. Does anyone here want to fight? A Lannister pays his debts, and a sellsword comes forward, and he goes, I will fight for you, sir.
Oh,
so maybe you could get like
a proxy,
yeah.
Achilles from that Troy movie. Brad Pitt comes on out and just stabs the guy right through the shoulder, and that's how we do this. I see. All right,
so
Kevin,
maybe that's the
Kevin,
deal.
you do boxing, right? You want to be my proxy? You can go do that.
I'm not getting hurt for you. What are you, crazy?
So then it says, unless you're a little B-word, beta male Zio who's scared to own up to his own genocidal propaganda. In that case, you can ignore this email. Nobody will be surprised, but people will know you P-word out. That's what they said from this random group. Let's be clear what they're trying to do. They want me to mention them on air, their names and everything like that, so they get some attention. This is an attention-seeking thing. These Looney Tunes. This is what they want, but it's still technically a death threat. It's still technically a threat of violence. Tell me again how this is a both sides issue from this Antifa group. Here's something else, by the way, with regards to this. Anybody going to condemn this? What is this, number 30 death threat I've gotten? Anybody going to condemn it? Any political person? Anybody on the left saying we don't put up with this? I posted it on social media. Anybody going to say anything about it? No, of course not. They only care if Donald Trump does it. In fact, according to studies, this is from our friend Batya Unger Sargon, most of the violence is actually coming from the left. All these reports that the Wall Street Journal and The Economist are citing leave out a few things. For example, they leave out all the George Floyd riots, leave out all of it. Do you think that maybe a whole bunch of these news outlets people don't want to follow anymore because CNN, for example, said it's fiery but mostly peaceful? Well, you have an entire city on fire behind the reporter who's reporting on the thing in Minneapolis, right? How about that? This is another one, the one cited by The Economist. She wrote for the Daily Wire, the data set doesn't include either previous 2 assassination attempts on President Trump's life. It doesn't include the names of would-be assassins, nor the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which might explain why they think that, maybe it's all on the right, because they leave out everything from the left. Also, they left out all the Hamasniks and all the hate crimes. They leave out all that, and they classify it as right-wing violence when really it's coming from the left. It's not the Pramila Jayapal wants the free press. She wants the press that gives her more press. Notice, I never see her on Fox. I always see her over on MS Now, M. Snow. Speaking of, what's that guy's name? Jonathan Snow, something Snow from Game of Thrones? There's a guy named Snow. I know, he wakes up and says winter is coming or whatever. I saw the trailer. I didn't even watch the show. Jonathan Snow, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's Jon Snow.
Jon Snow. Yeah. Jon Snow. That's what it is. Yes, I clearly
I
never
love I'm
watched the
bringing
show.
up Game of Thrones and you're bringing up that Troy movie from back. I mean, come on.
That's the only one I know where they had a proxy. Is there anything else where they had a proxy in it? I
No,
saw
I'm
that.
just saying,
I
I
didn't
mean-
say it was good. I just said I
Okay,
saw
all right.
it. It's not good. It's pretty terrible, as a matter of fact. It could have been good.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. That was not the face that launched 1,000 ships. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Alma and Kenmore. Alma, what's up?
Oh, how are you, my dear friend? I don't know if I should laugh or cry. You know why I would cry?
Why?
Laugh because I don't want to cry. Why would the Supreme Court, my mother, me, my family, we work this country, and they're going to take away our vote, Ari?
Wait. Hang on, Alma. Alma.
Yes, sir.
That is not what it says. You're talking about not today's decision. You're talking about last week's decision with the redistricting, right?
Yeah, last
That's what you're
week's
talking
decision.
about?
Yeah,
Okay.
redistricting.
Okay.
Yes.
They
No
are not
problem.
taking away anybody's vote at all. Did you read the decision, Alma?
No, I didn't read, but let me tell you something. They're going to get more seats than we are. So if that's not taking away our votes, what is
Whoa,
it?
hang on.
Let me understand.
These are two different things. Alma, do you know how seats are appropriated in Congress to states? Do you know how they're done?
I can feel. Yes.
Okay.
I do.
So it's
I
done
do.
by
But
population.
Let me ask you this.
Well, hang on. Let me
Can
just
I
finish
ask
my
you this?
point. Then you can ask me whatever you want, okay? They're done by population. Now, during COVID and recently, because of a lot of stuff going wrong in blue states and blue cities, a lot of those people have moved to other states. So, for example, California has lost seats. Washington's about to lose a seat. New York has lost some seats. And those seats are being picked up by the South, even before the redistricting. They're being picked up by red
Black
states.
district. Why would they cut a black district up so bad?
Hang on a second.
Maybe I'm not understanding, but I understand enough to know that that's wrong, Ori. We
No,
worked hard.
Alma,
We built this
hang on
country.
a second. The black representatives in Congress right now were elected by white districts. Do you know that?
Well, I hope they keep doing it.
Okay.
Yes, and
All
I-
right.
and yes, I do.
Okay. So, do
but
you think
what I
do you think
don't
we still
know
have the same problem we did in the 1950s and 60s?
No, but we have worse.
We have worse? You think it is
Racism is
worse
alive and
worse
kicking.
for black
Racism
people
is-
now than it was in the
racism-
1950s and 60s now, Alma?
Racism is live and kicking, Audrey. You know that.
I'm not
You-
saying
you-
there's
you
no
know, but you
I'm
know
not
what?
saying there's no racism, Alma, but you think it's worse now than the 1950s and 60s?
Yes, it's at one while it wasn't. You knocked us back 300 or 400 years again. All I can do, Ari, maybe.
Wait, Alma, I'm trying to
Again.
understand. I'm trying to understand. How is it worse now than the 1950s and 60s?
Well, how is it better? Can I answer a question with a question?
Okay, is
How is it
anybody
better?
is there Jim Crow laws anywhere in the state right now? Anywhere in the United States?
Not, I don't really know.
Well, it's
and
a
I'm
no.
not going to be able to answer that
It's a
'cause
no.
I don't know.
It's a no. Okay, it's a no. All right, we have the
Is
Civil
it-
Rights Acts.
Okay, let me say this, Ari. I'm going to stop. Let me say this. It's no Jim Crow law, but they got some. Trump and his administration, they made so many laws, you might as well make it Jim Crow. You're taking away somebody. My poor black grandchildren.
Alma,
have to live with it.
I
But
make
you
you
know
the
what,
promise.
Ari?
I'm making
Ari.
you a promise. I'm going to make you a promise right now, okay? If they take away the votes of your grandchildren, I will be the first one to march side by side with them to get those rights back. But I don't think that's what's actually happening, Alma. I'll tell you what. If you drop me an email, ari@kvi.com, I will send you the Supreme Court decision itself. I will send it to you after the show today, and you can read the thing, and then I want you to call me tomorrow and tell me if you still think the same thing, okay?
Okay, I'll do that. I
All
will
right.
do that because it's not good to get here and don't learn things. But thanks, Ari, and for taking the time and listening. You're one of the good ones. Good Republicans. Republican.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Alma. God bless you and the gentleman who's always next to you. God bless you both. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, the exodus isn't just happening with Seattle retailers. It's happening in Portland, and they might have it worse than we do. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just before we take that trip down the left coast, Kevin may not volunteer to be my proxy, but it's okay. We got people on the text line. This one right here, Dan Smith says, Jedi Master Hoffman, I will be your proxy. I bet there's a whole brigade of huckleberries absolutely excited to be your personal goon squad. No, Dan. We don't need that now. You actually reminded me of something, though I appreciate the offer. Since I identify as a Jedi Master, they have to respect my pronouns. So when we show up for this Rumble, all I have to do is do a force choke on them, and they have to pass out. They have to. You will respect my authority, right? Isn't that what it is?
This all sounds great. Let's just make sure that Zach's there with multiple camera angles so we can roll on this whole thing, put it up at kvi.com and on all social media. I'm all for it.
Exactly. This one here from Ted. Ari, you know the punk who wrote that is living in his mom's basement and couldn't do a push-up for $1 million. Probably true. I can do 2. Thank you for actually. The truth is, I haven't done push-ups in forever. I should probably get on that, maybe just a little bit.
Do you know where I found out about the mutual combat law in Washington State?
Where's that?
You remember Phoenix Jones?
Yes,
the superhero.
Yeah, well, I'd say vigilante, not superhero, but
whatever.
Yes, Seattle had its own superhero.
Let's not split hairs here. We don't know what his superpowers were necessarily. But not doing great now, my understanding. But either way, that one of the videos he said, I challenge you to mutual combat to somebody outside in the street, and there were police right there, and he cited the law, and the police officer, it was in the U district, and we're like, you guys agree? They let him go.
And they just let him go, and that was that. Wow. Okay, who won?
Phoenix.
Oh, Phoenix Joe. Well, was he an old MMA fighter or something like that?
He threw some monster leg kicks, and the poor guy didn't know how to check them. So after a while, he starts dropping his hands to block the kicks to the leg,
and then you're done. You got to keep your high guard up. That's it. Yes, even I know that, and I never did any of that kind of stuff. All right, I appreciate all the support here, guys. It looks like I got Ari's army showing up in force to be my proxies. Do appreciate that. It's not like we're going to Portland though, so. This one here, Wall Street Apes. If you don't know who they are, they're a social media account. They do a lot of political stuff, and they also do some financial stuff. So they have a list here. Here's the major retailers that left Portland over declining conditions due to Democrat policies from 2022 to 2026. Nike Community Factory Store operates since 1984, closed permanently because of 276 shoplifting reports in 1 year. Walmart, both Portland locations, 580 employees laid off. Target, 3 stores, explicitly cited organized retail crime and shoplifting. REI, the highest break-in rate in 2 decades, over $800,000 spent on extra security, including multiple incidents, one with a vehicle through the doors on Black Friday. I remember we reported on that at the time in 2022. U.S. Bank announced it would not renew its long-term lease for a building sale that they had in July of 2025. They sold it for $45 million, down from what it was worth when they bought it, $372 million in 2015, an 88% value decline. Wells Fargo announced they're leaving Portland. Starbucks closed at least 5 to 6 Portland locations in September of 2025 alone. Nordstrom Rack, CVS Pharmacy, both of them cited shoplifting as a factor. Pioneer Place Mall once had roughly 100 stores. Now it's down to 20, described as a dead mall. Lloyd Center Mall confirmed for full demolition, now 90% vacant. PacWest Center sold October 2025 for $55.7 million, down from what it was worth of $170 million in 2016, a 67% drop. Montgomery Park sold August 2024 for $33 million, down from $255 million in 2019. That's an 87% drop. You want to know how bad things are in Portland? A man believed to be a former employee drove his car through the window of the Multnomah Athletic Club, the MAC. I guess you could say we're going to need the return of the MAC here. On 3 a.m. Saturday, drove around the floor and tried to set off a number of explosive devices loaded in his vehicle. The club was closed on Saturday when he did this. The man was dead when firefighters made it to the scene. He killed himself, caused a lot of damage. They don't even know when the MAC is reopening. This guy, apparently, you can see the video on it, drove right through the turnstiles at the front door, then went on a rampage through the building, tried to set off the explosives, caused a lot of damage in doing so. Apparently was a disgruntled former employee who they knew was a problem. This guy had a lot of issues, and yet for some reason he was still out and about. Because Portland doesn't enforce the law. Portland doesn't deal with crime. Portland just lets the lunatics run the asylum. There's some crazy video of this. Antifa's in charge in Portland. Look what's happening, how none of the local authorities are helping out with the ICE facility there in Portland. Just gets attacked. They don't do anything when the local authorities don't do anything when journalists get attacked. They don't do anything when people get assaulted. Instead, what do? I'm shocked Katie Davenport didn't get arrested for being a Trump supporter by the Portland Police Department. That's how out of whack they are down there. Insane. Absolutely insane. When we come back, my friends, new fraud is exposed. You won't believe this scam. You mean I could have gotten paid billions of dollars to hang out with my own family? I didn't know about this loophole. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, we have our Red, White, and Win concert going on at KVI.com right now. You get to pick your ticket to one of 3 events. You can enter to win 2 tickets to see Lionel Richie with Earth, Wind, and Fire, or Santana with the Doobie Brothers, or Toto featuring Christopher Cross and the Romantics, but you can only sign up now at KVI.com for your chance to win. If you want to buy the tickets, head on over to Live Nation for your opportunity to buy the tickets. This contest ends tomorrow, my friends. So make sure you head on over to KVI.com right now for your chance to win. When I found out about the fraud going on in Minnesota, I said, wait a minute. You're telling me the system was so fraudulent that, and my family set up with my wife's family is like the Jewish version of Everybody Loves Raymond. So her parents live across the street from where her grandparents used to live, which is a few doors down from where her sister and brother-in-law live with their 3 kids, which is a few doors down from where her brother and sister-in-law live with their 3 kids, and we're 2 blocks away. So what you're telling me is under the structure they set up in Minneapolis, my wife could have said she's going to watch her sister's kids. Her sister could have said she's going to watch our kids. And they all could have gotten paid by the government. All could have done it. Well, now the Daily Wire has a new expose they're putting out on Medicaid millionaires. And this is by Luke Rosiak, friend of the show. I should really invite him back on to talk about this. He does great investigative work. He's the one who found out what was really going on in Virginia when the Biden administration was declaring parents domestic terrorists. He's the one who revealed that the dad they arrested, that guy's daughter had been sexually assaulted by a dude who identifies as a girl in the bathroom of the school. This is the guy who found that story. So Luke Rosiak does a good job. And so he's investigating Medicaid fraud. He writes, I set my sights on Ohio, which like Minnesota has been granted waivers to expand Medicaid well beyond its original purpose. Under the guise of health care, Ohio pays people to go to Medicaid beneficiaries' homes to perform homemaking and chores like cooking and cleaning. The people performing these personal services tasks don't even have to be healthcare workers, and in many cases are actually relatives of the Medicaid recipient. Now, I could tell you why this thing was designed. This thing was designed because not everybody can afford in-home care, but a lot of times people got to take off from work to go take care of relatives, and you got to offset that loss somehow. So it was probably done that way, but you know what they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. According to an analysis by the Daily Wire, Ohio spent $1 billion on home health care in 2024, the last year for which data was available. Since the services are performed inside private residences, there's no way to know whether the workers went at all or what they're actually doing in exchange for taxpayer funds. An infinite number of small black boxes inside a black box, he says. Multiple signs said the service provided and billed the government was sometimes just companionship and conversation. So what you're saying is that I could have sent my kids up to their grandparents' house just to visit them and they would have gotten paid for companionship? Or my wife could have gone up to her grandparents' house and gotten paid for companionship? As people have realized the United States government will pay them to hang out with their own families, Northeast Columbus has seen its economy replaced by businesses that bill Medicaid. And Columbus, a city with the second largest Somali population in the country, has become, on the surface, the most unhealthy city on the planet. Quote, well, if the government is going to pay you to do it, said one home health operator, people see it as lucrative, so they just jump on it. Jump on it. The new welfare queens aren't the recipients whose low incomes qualify them for poverty programs. They're the companies getting rich off them. Driving down Cleveland Avenue in less than 40 seconds, you come to an almost endless home health companies. Capital Home Health, Continental Home Health, Dynamic Home Health Care, Ohio Senior Home Health Care. Entire buildings throughout the city are filled entirely with what appears to be identical businesses. The enormous complex at 6161 Bush Boulevard, its lack of windows would be a problem for most office buildings, but there is almost no one in this one. What is inside is 94 different companies signed up to bill Medicaid, each with a tiny office, often marked with a sheet of paper proclaiming some generic company name ending in Home Health LLC, and sometimes another piece of paper claiming the employees had just stepped out for a break. Yeah, they just never come back. The building alone billed taxpayers $66 million in the span of a few years, according to the records obtained by the Daily Wire. The owner of Columbus Home Healthcare Company, pick anyone at random, and look him up in public records. You are likely to go down an endless rabbit hole, years of unpaid taxes and debts, sometimes criminal records, an astonishing number of LLCs created in other industries, as if the millions they make from Medicaid are just a side gig. He says he went down some of those rabbit holes, and he says that what's coming up in the next few days is a politician who founded an $11 million home health care company that he appeared to run part-time without even mentioning it in his political biography, who funded his campaign with donations from the home health care owner. A woman who reinvented her janitorial LLC as a health provider, then billed Medicaid nearly $100,000 the first month. A landlord who bought airplanes after renting space to hundreds of home health care companies that billed Medicaid $250 million. $1 million Medicaid business owned by a couple with repeated fraud, violence, and theft convictions. A man who went to prison for Medicaid fraud, who told the government he was too broke to pay restitution, while his neighbors and associates preside over a poverty program empire. An accountant who lost his license for stealing public funds, then opened a $7 million home health company using the address of a convicted money launderer's teenage son. This is where your Medicaid funds are going. It's not just bad enough they're being stolen, but what do the Democrats claim all the time? We need more taxes for Medicaid. We need to tax you more for Medicaid. No, it looks like people have been defrauding this system for years, and you've been paying for it. And then when you actually need it, sorry, we had to cut rates again. Sorry, we had to cut rates again, because they're busy paying for things like this. I can't wait to see the next exposés from Luke Rosiak. He does a phenomenal, phenomenal job. And I think I'll reach out to him tonight to see if we can get him on the show this week for more on this, because I think he did a phenomenal, phenomenal job. Let me ask you this, my friends. You know where the number 3 Somali community is in the U.S.? So it goes, Minneapolis is number 1, Ohio is number 2. Guess who's number 3? Right here in Seattle, Washington, in our area. How much do you think we're going to find over there? Yeah, you know the answer to that question as well as I do. Up next, my friends, Tucker Carlson completely lies to the New York Times, and the New York Times calls him out on it. When you're getting owned by the New York Times, how far have you fallen? We'll have that insane audio for you when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I'm kind of proud to say that I never liked Tucker Carlson. I never trust a man in a bow tie. I never liked that dude ever. And one of my first jobs in media when I was starting out with the Post Millennial was every night they would have me do transcripts of Tucker Carlson's opening monologue. And this is before we had good transcription software like we have now. It was such a pain in the you-know-what. Having to type all that out, it was awful. It was terrible. It was just plain terrible. I never liked Tucker Carlson. And I remember with his monologues, I'm always thinking to myself, this guy's crazy. It's one thing to be a right-winger. It's one thing to be a conservative. It's one thing to be a Republican, because I consider myself many of those things. But he would say things that were just flat out untrue and things that are just wrong. Look, I've liked many people in the conservative movement who I listened to before I got the job in media, but I never liked Tucker Carlson. Never, ever liked him. Well, now he's saying he doesn't like Trump. Now he's saying he's against this and against that. Well, he does this sit down with the New York Times. The New York Times did the interview with Tucker Carlson that Tucker Carlson should have done with Nick Fuentes. The New York Times, and give this reporter, whatever her name is, kudos, because she said, you said this. And when he said, no, I didn't, right? Whenever he does that, she called him on it. So this was one of those moments right here. Give a listen.
What I was saying, which is you cannot mock other people's gods and put yourself in their place, period. That is a deal killer for me. That's worse than the war with Iran, in my opinion.
Yeah. But I ask because, you've been talking on your show about whether Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, the day after Easter, you noted he did not put his hand on the Bible during his swearing-in ceremony as president. You said, and I'm quoting, maybe he didn't put his hand on the Bible because he affirmatively rejects what's inside that book. And then on a recent show, you went further saying, here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist? Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist? Well, who knows? I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips because I'm not sure I fully understand what the Antichrist is. If there's just one, I actually tried to understand it. I may have said some are asking that. I'm not weighing in on that because I don't understand it. And just to be totally
No, in
clear.
Revelations, obviously.
So hang on. You're a flat out liar. You're a flat out liar. She plays the clip for you. She quotes your words to you. You know what you could have said? Here's what I say. People ask me, did you really say that? And we have this from time to time. And I go, I talk for 3 hours a day, every single day. Don't remember everything I said. And I've said some fun stuff before. Like last week, I made a mistake, right? With the Wizards of Waverly Place or the Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast. That's what it was, where I thought it was the stores, but the stores aren't there anymore. We were just talking about the software guys. Make mistakes. And you know what's really easy to say? I speak for X amount of hours a day. If you have that clip right there, I must have said it. But even when confronted with the clip, he's still sticking to those words never left my lips. What, you think by saying it fancy, we believe you all of a sudden? Give me a break. You're just a liar, man. Just a liar.
The best is when listeners come up to us at, say, like one of the, I don't know, a fair or whatever, and they're like, hey, you know that one time that you guys were talking about this one thing? It's like, it's been 5 years.
Right.
Maybe, sure.
You know what's funny? Like, our old boss, Rick, we came up with a system. Kevin knows this. I've got my spreadsheets, which have all my stuff on them. You know, I have every single one going back to my first show, just in case somebody was going to pull something up. I'm like, you got the date? Let's go to the 3 o'clock hour. Let's see what I actually said. How long do you think I should hold on to those for? I mean, you think it's like taxes where you can only get audited every 7 years? Or you think I have to hold on to those for the rest of my life where I just hold on? I have every single, a digital space doesn't really cost me that much for Excel files.
It's easier to be a digital hoarder than a real hoarder.
Exactly. Kirby was big on the papers. John was big on the papers. There's only so many places you can keep that kind of stuff. But yeah, Tucker Carlson, just take the L, dude. Just take the L. She played it for you. And here's the other thing. You know when that episode was? That was like last week. That wasn't even like a year ago or 2 years ago. That was a week ago. He said that. And it went viral because he compared Trump to the Antichrist. People said, okay, This is where we're done with Tucker Carlson. People who had supported him for a while said, all right, you went against the orange man? No way, we're done with you. Now, what's interesting about this is that the New York Times interview is getting held up on the left by, look, Tucker Carlson left MAGA, which anybody who's been paying attention to, this guy left this, he jumped the shark a long, long time ago. And everybody on the right is saying, yep, that's it, we're done with this guy. You know who comes out as gangbusters? Tucker Carlson, because you're still talking about him, and he's still getting the clicks. But I want to know from all of you, I want to know from you guys, are you done with Tucker, or are you still sticking with Tucker? I mean, this was just one little piece of the crazy he was saying on the show. Are you done with Tucker? You sticking with Tucker? Or did you never like Tucker like me? I'm an OG not liking Tucker. Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens is a little different. I used to kind of like some of their content sometimes, but Tucker never liked his content. Somebody actually told me at that event I went to in Vancouver last week, they said, it's so sad because we used to watch him in our house every single night. And it's really sad when somebody like that goes off the rails. Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, Spirit Airlines is out of business. There's a couple of Democrats that might be to blame for it. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, topless sunbathing is back at one beach in Seattle while we limit the hours at another. What the hell is going on around here? But before we get to any of that, my friends, got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
I have to clarify some of the stuff about this shooting at the White House. Okay, let's start with number one. It was over half a mile away from the White House. If you know the layout of the mall in Washington, D.C., this happened over near the Washington Monument. Now, I understand, everybody, that when you say somebody had a gun near the White House, that might make people say, is this assassination attempt number 4? Are they going after Trump again? What is this? For all we know, this is some random dude with a gun because it's Washington, D.C. Now, mind you, Washington, D.C. has been cleaned up significantly. Crime is down an insane amount. But in that area, there are Secret Service agents everywhere. There are federal agents everywhere. There's a National Guard everywhere. This is the center of our democracy. And now under the Trump administration, there are people everywhere. So what do we know for sure? According to Fox News, U.S. Secret Service officers shot an armed person Monday near the White House. Okay, not really near the White House. Here's the next line. The shooting happened near 15th Street and Independence Avenue. Hang on. Isn't the White House on Pennsylvania Avenue? Oh, this must be the next block over, right? No, it's half a mile from the White House and close to the Washington Monument. Secret Service Uniformed Division officers engaged the individual after the person pulled a gun. In a press conference, Secret Service Deputy Director Matt Quinn said that a juvenile bystander was struck by the suspect. The child who was struck did not sustain any life-threatening injuries, but is receiving treatment at the hospital. Was this a kid on a field trip? Was this a kid who was there with his family? Was this a kid at a park? We don't know. Quinn said the confrontation began after trained surveillance personnel spotted a visual print of a weapon. Okay, here's what this means. I know a lot of you are thinking, okay, it's like in True Lies when Schwarzenegger and Tom Arnold are walking through that tunnel and you just see the x-rays and you see the gun on them. No, it can mean that if they had a system to do that, or it can mean when somebody's wearing a gun, you can tell because their clothing bulges in a different spot and the way they walk is a little different. You can tell. So Quinn said, my understanding is they observed a print. They are trained surveillance detection personnel out there every day looking for just that. And they observed a visual print of a firearm, which means they saw a guy had a bulge in his pocket. He wasn't just happy to see them. So what they did was they said, hey, is that a gun in your pocket? Upon making contact, that individual fled briefly on foot, withdrew a firearm, and fired in the direction of our agents and officers. They returned fire and engaged. So this is not an assassination attempt that we know of yet. Now, Quinn confirmed that Vice President J.D. Vance's motorcade had driven by the area not long before the shooting, but said it was unrelated. Okay, so he's not trying to kill Vance. When asked if the suspect was targeting President Trump in light of the recent attack at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Quinn said he would not speculate. He said, I can't say. I'm not going to guess on that. I can tell you that every time we're patrolling this area, in every site, we do 24/7 hardcore. Whether or not it was directed at the president or not, I don't know, but I will find out. Now, one of the reasons you want to keep this area safe is it's massively attended by tourists. Plus, also, this is relatively new, or at least I shouldn't say new. It's come back. It's made a resurgence. So in the 1960s, you had people out there all the time. In the 1970s, you had people out there all the time. When I was growing up as a kid, they really cleaned up a lot of Washington, D.C., and there weren't a lot of protesters in the 80s and 90s out on the mall. There were a few, but there weren't really a lot. Like, they had really cleaned up the city. Now they're back with a vengeance. So you don't know who's out there. Plus, there's a lot of monuments. There's a lot of hidden alcoves. There's a lot of corners. You got to be checking it out all the time. And all these monuments are open. You can just walk into any one of them. You know my favorite time to go to the monuments? Okay, for those of you who have done D.C. before, this is my father's hack. This is what you do. You go to the monuments at night. One, they're so much prettier at night. They're all lit up. They're gorgeous. But also, you can just walk into them. Okay, you can't see the little museum attached to them. Big deal. Now you don't have to wait in line, so you can get gorgeous pictures of Washington, D.C. if you have the right camera at night. I love going at night. The only time to go during the day is if you're there when the cherry blossoms are out in, like, let's say March, maybe early April. Then you can get some good stuff during the daytime. But otherwise, go at night. It's so much prettier. Anyway, the suspect was believed to be alive and taken to a hospital. The situation appeared to be contained quickly. No immediate indication of a broader threat. So, for all we know, this guy's a drug dealer. For all we know, it's a homeless guy. We don't know yet, but when you say it's near the White House, now all of a sudden, people are more interested in what's going on, especially with the news. So, for now, my friends, we don't know if this was an assassination attempt. It doesn't appear that it was an assassination attempt, but the more we find out about this, the more we'll know. It could have just been a guy with a gun who had it, doesn't have a concealed weapons permit because he's got the gun illegally or something, was walking around with it, and then he knows what's going to happen. If the Secret Service agents say, sir, can we talk to you for a second? And, hey, show us the concealed carry permit for the gun. I don't know the laws in Washington, D.C. I don't think you could do concealed carry in Washington, D.C. I have to double-check that. I don't want to be wrong about that. But not every state has the same law as we do. I'm pretty sure, actually, they don't have concealed carry in Washington, D.C. I have to check, though. So, anywho, of course, they're going to check it out. And person was probably up to no good no matter what it was, and that's what they wanted to do about it. So, even though they say it's a shooting near the White House, not that near the White House, okay? That's like saying, there's a shooting in downtown Seattle. Well, it was really in Capitol Hill, but that's pretty close to downtown Seattle, right? Just go up and over I-5 and you're there. Yeah, not really exactly the same thing. Meanwhile, Spirit Airlines officially shut down operations over the weekend, and everybody saw this coming. We had a whole discussion on Friday about Spirit Airlines and what an awful customer service experience it was. However, Spirit Airlines could have been saved. Could have been saved during the Biden administration. Sean Duffy was being asked about this. Our Secretary of the Department of Transportation was being asked about this over the weekend. Here's what he said.
Between JetBlue and Spirit. And Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg, along with the Biden DOJ, decided that they did not want that merger to take place. And at the time, the Biden and Buttigieg DOJ bragged and said, as they canceled the option for this merger, that this was a victory for U.S. travelers who deserve lower prices and better choices. Now, many at the time said this was a disaster. This merger should have been allowed. And this today would indicate this is not better for travelers. This is not better for pricing. This is not better for competition. Actually, it's worse. We had an airline go down because the markets were trying to allow two airlines to merge, make them stronger, and offer more competition for the American consumer. Also, Elizabeth Warren at the time cheered the blocking of the merger, saying that this was a Biden win for flyers. So, again, I think it's important that we always look with a keen eye when airlines want to merge. We care about pricing for consumers. We care about competition. But if the markets are saying there needs to be a merger because there's health issues with one of the airlines or more than one airline, we have to take a look at it and make sure we make the right choices. And in this situation, history has judged the denial of the merger between JetBlue and Spirit through the Biden administration with, I think, a view that it was a massive mistake. So we have been engaged, again, with the airlines.
So hang on a second. What exactly was the proposal between JetBlue and Spirit? A lot of people weren't even paying attention at the time. Here's Fox News.
Let's take a look back at that merger with JetBlue that could have saved Spirit Airlines. You go back to the merger. The merger itself was $1 billion per year in consumer savings, 10,000 new direct jobs by 2026, and 1,000 daily flights to 145 plus destinations. Remember, Spirit, along with JetBlue, are the low-cost airlines, not the big ones like American, United, Southwest, and Delta. So you look back in the history. So in 2023, Biden administration sued to block that nearly $4 billion merger 2024, the federal judge blocked it. The Biden administration brought that lawsuit. It caused Spirit not once, but twice to file for bankruptcy in 2024, in 2025. Then, of course, what we saw play out yesterday, 277 flights canceled, boom, drop 17,000 jobs. 17,000 workers are out of a job today, could push fares up by $100.
Okay, so it's not cheaper, and now there's less options, and now a lot of people are out of work. Now, mind you, you heard it from KVI News at the top of the hour that KVI News was talking about how JetBlue is doing some of the routes. What happens when airlines merge? Hey, anybody fly TWA recently? How about Pan Am? Anybody fly any? Where's ValueJet? Haven't heard from those guys in a while. Sometimes airlines go out of business, sometimes airlines close, and sometimes they merge. In this case, JetBlue has a better reputation than Spirit Airlines. But Spirit Airlines had some routes that JetBlue didn't have. So JetBlue figured, okay, we can take on the crazy. We can handle the fistfights and all the other stuff of Spirit Airlines. We can make them more JetBlue. We can make people behave, but we'll pick up these routes that we don't have right now. We'll get some airplanes a little cheaper because they're used. We'll get some staff. Now, mind you, I think that if JetBlue is smart, and it looks like they are already, they're already saying they're going to do these routes. They probably want to do them already. They'll probably hire a lot of the people from Spirit Airlines, and they'll probably buy their airplanes for pennies on the dollar. So for all we know, JetBlue is about to come out ahead of all this. But do you remember what Pete Buttigieg, the worst Secretary of Transportation we ever had? Do you remember what he said during all this in 2023?
Our department, the Department of Transportation, has generally not gotten involved in these merger cases, but that's changing today. It is so important to make sure that passengers have choices, that they have access to low fares, that they have access to competition, and yet we've seen less and less and less of that competition over the years. We are taking a step that, again, is unusual in terms of recent years, but we think is the right thing to do, supporting the DOJ's lawsuit and independently using our own authorities, which are a little bit different from the DOJ, starting our own investigation and taking other actions.
Wrong again, Pete. Wrong again. Here was Pete Buttigieg defending this against Burgess Owens. They were having a discussion at a hearing. Here's him failing to defend this.
My constituents and American people stand for the benefit of free market competition. More flights and more options means lower prices and better service. Mr. Secretary, I am increasingly concerned by your department's actions that result in protecting 80% of market share among the 4 U.S. carriers. Do you believe that maintaining the status quo is a result of your opposition to the JetBlue-Spirit merger?
Well, if we want competition, then we have to have fidelity to our watchdog role when it comes to mergers. After all, by definition.
Okay, stop right there for a second. Stop right there. You're not going to have an option anymore. Spirit had already declared bankruptcy once. It was going to declare bankruptcy again. If they were going to close, then that would be less options. Right away, anybody who has a fundamental, basic understanding of economics would realize this. That's why they were doing the merger. But Pete Buttigieg and the rest of the Biden administration were against this. Man, did that guy not? Is there anything he didn't screw up? Anything at all? Let's listen to the rest of his nonsense and Representative Burgess Owens calling him out for it.
A merger means that there will be fewer competitors than there were before the merger. I could not concur with the description of this as a novel regulatory.
Yes. Can I just ask a quick question? You're saying that we have 4 major carriers that represent 80% of the traffic, and adding another one would stop competition?
By definition, a merger doesn't add a company, it removes it.
By definition, a merger also gives the 4 a competition that they don't have presently of 80%.
So our role is to make sure that there is more competition, not less, and we will only act to prevent a merger if there is a determination that a merger would harm competition.
Okay, so let me ask, so in other words, we have 4 major airlines representing 80% of the traffic, and you're saying another competition would be what? Would not be competition? I'm trying to understand the math, because
think of it in terms of
add another carrier, national carrier.
You're taking
give more competition to the 4 that right now.
My point is taking two airlines and turning them into one could mean less competition.
We're talking about the smaller. How can they compete with the policies you're now looking at? How will you allow them to compete in this market?
So here's the thing. I think they're talking at cross purposes. Because one, you guys know that there's certain people who fly the higher end airlines. There's people who look for the cheaper airlines. Well, the cheaper airline was about to go away. Spirit Airlines was about to go away. But what it could do is if Spirit combined with JetBlue, it would be bigger and now be able to compete with the big boys. So now JetBlue is punching above their weight class and able to compete with Delta and American and United and the other airlines. Whereas beforehand, they weren't able to do that. And what Pete Buttigieg is saying, well, if you consolidate these airlines, you lose competition. But what Pete Buttigieg was not recognizing was the fact that if Spirit goes out of business, you have less competition. You know how much money a lot of these airlines made over the weekend because they were charging up the wazoo for the people from Spirit Airlines who were trapped and had to go somewhere. Yeah, I know they were giving discounts, but they're not really discounts. You know what it's like to buy a same-day ticket if you've ever had to do it before? This was preventable. This was predictable. Now, Pete Buttigieg is the one who's getting all the criticism for this, but he's not alone. The other one who did this is Elizabeth Warren. Secretary Scott Bessent called her out for it over the weekend.
Sure, Maria. So this is just more of the mess we inherited from the Biden administration. In September 2022, Elizabeth Warren, who loves to write letters, sent a letter to the Justice Department, to the Transport Department, saying that they should oppose the merger with Spirit Airlines. JetBlue wanted to buy them for $3.8 billion. It would have given them much more resiliency. And she and the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who's probably the worst transportation secretary in history when he came to the office, they were against the merger. And if JetBlue had merged with Spirit, we would have all these jobs that were lost yesterday. We had 30 regional airports who have lost service. And I can tell you what happened here. It wasn't Treasury, it was Commerce that was trying to put something together. But the reason we were here was because the Biden administration opposed the merger. We shouldn't have been here in the first place.
I don't know if you noticed this, but over the weekend, the Trump administration didn't get the blame for this. They really didn't, because they were trying to fix this. And what they were trying to do was make that deal come back to life, resurrect that deal from the dead between JetBlue and Spirit. And JetBlue is probably thinking at that point, guys, why would we spend that kind of money when now we can just wait for them to go bankrupt? We'll pick up their routes. We'll pick up their staff. We'll pick up their airplanes for pennies on the dollar. Why should we drop $3.5 billion? It's not a few years ago anymore. We've got different issues. Now, you saw the left trying to make this about gas prices. Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg were trying to claim this was about gas prices. I don't see any other airlines closing. But here's something else. If you're going to try and make this about gas prices, that means you have to ignore the two previous bankruptcies and the terrible reputation which everybody knows that Spirit Airlines had. When people hear Spirit Airlines went out of business, they were making more jokes about it than anything else. In fact, my favorite one was a meme I saw today. I don't know if it was the Babylon Bee or somebody else, but it's Elizabeth Warren holding the cockpit of a Spirit Airlines, and it goes, Pocahontas finally gets her scalp. Come on. All right. Come on. That was funny. At the end of the day, this was avoidable. This was preventable. And you know what? You might not have had all those people with all those problems this weekend. And now who knows if all these people are going to get hired? Who knows if all these employees of Spirit Airlines are going to get hired? So, yes, another loss for the Biden administration. Still taking losses even after a year and a half being out of office. Is there anything these guys didn't screw up? Speaking of people who screw up a lot, in Seattle, Washington, one beach is going fully topless, another one is closing early. Seems like there's some inconsistency in our policies around here. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. I understand there was a little technical problem with our contest over at the website. Don't worry, my friends. It is now fully operational, like this fully armed battle station here on Star Wars Day. So our red, white, and win contest is going on at KVI.com right now, where you get to pick your ticket. You get a chance to enter to win 2 tickets to one of the following shows: Lionel Richie with Earth, Wind, and Fire, Santana with the Doobie Brothers, and Toto featuring Christopher Cross and the Romantics. Now, these tickets are for sale right now at livenation.com, but you get the chance to win them. And you can only win them over at the website over at kvi.com. So head on over there right now for your chance to win. Lots of feedback on the question I asked earlier about Tucker Carlson. This one here from the 360, I never liked what Tucker has ever said and wondered why he could go to the White House. Yeah, I kind of had those concerns too, especially at the RNC when he was already kind of going off the deep end. And I looked down and there he is sitting with Trump. I'm like, interesting move. Not one I would have done, but interesting move. This one here from Lee says he's done with Tucker Carlson. This one here from Becky says, I never really knew anything about Tucker Carlson, except for the bow ties. No, I added the bow ties thing. This one here, Robin Lakewood, says he's done with Tucker, especially that manic laugh. The 253 thinks Tucker Carlson is in the CIA. Was he part of the deep state the whole time? Have him infiltrate Fox News. Is that what it was? This one here from the 360, Tucker is a very dishonest person. Even when caught in a lie, what does he say that helps anybody? Well, it helps Tucker Carlson. Helps him make money. Uh-oh. All right, talking about talk show hosts who say things, then now we're going to have to ask him about it. Kevin's going to like this one. From the 206, didn't John Carlson refer to Tucker as the second most intelligent Carlson in the media? Ask John. Might be a good interview.
He probably did back in the day.
That sounds like something John would have said.
And he was, for a while there, Tucker was the man on Fox for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, he was pulling big numbers and everybody was watching. And so, like we even discussed here, when he was eventually let go, there was a lot of people that were like, what are they doing? This is a terrible mistake. And
I said he's drawing huge numbers, and I said he's going to take those numbers over to social media. Now, what was interesting is what happened afterwards. They replaced Tucker with Sean Hannity, probably to stem the flow. They bring in Jesse Waters. Their numbers went pretty much back to where they were after, I want to say a few weeks, a few months or something like that.
It didn't take long at all.
It really didn't. It was really very quick. Now, Tucker did have a big audience over on social media. But now the question is that audience bots? Is that audience real people? It's a big audience. It is a huge audience over there. I myself said I think he's going to do big numbers on social media, and he does, and he still does, for that matter. But it didn't look like it hurt Fox that much.
No. The problem with that stuff is going on his own like he did.
Mm-hmm.
And remember how much of a big deal it was when he was doing his first quote-unquote show back.
Right, because he was technically violating his contract. There was drama over that.
Yeah, and he was like in his basement of his house, all this stuff, and so everyone was kind of a little underwhelmed. But then the problem with this stuff is you get to see instantly what hits, what gets the most clicks, what instantly people respond to, and sometimes it's tempting to just boy, that was some crazy stuff that we talked about, but boy, they seem to love it. Therefore, our advertisers seem to love it as well because of all the clicks. And so let's talk about this crazy nonsense more because it's getting the views, it's getting the clicks.
And that's exactly what he did. I mean, at the beginning, I remember he had his home set for Fox. And what's funny was you could tell it was the home set. It was just turned sideways or something, so you wouldn't see all the Fox stuff was still there. But now he's got his own thing. And yeah, a lot of people didn't follow him over there. He created a new audience, a lot of people, because it was everybody's parents and grandparents who were watching Tucker on Fox. And those people did not necessarily go over to streaming. This new, bigger audience that goes, oh, he got canceled. What's he going to say? It's controversial. Let's check it out. They went over there. The people who saw his clips from Fox went over there with him, but it wasn't everybody's grandparents.
No.
I think, actually, you and Mike were saying that at the time. They go, you think Grandma and Grandpa Kent, Ma and Pa Kent, are going to go over to Twitter to follow him?
Yeah, I think he was talking about his aunt, and he asked her, and she's like, well, he's not on Fox.
Right, so I'm not going to watch him anymore.
Because it's about ease. You just leave whatever you want to watch or listen to on, right?
Exactly.
And so that's why it's like, oh, you're asking me to do this many more steps to go find it and break up my routine? No, thank you.
Right, and that's why the ratings didn't really change that much. They really didn't. Anyway, switching gears over to things that happened here in Washington, a King County judge has ruled that topless sunbathing is allowed throughout Denny Blaine Park, adding a new development, according to Fox News, to an ongoing legal dispute over conditions at the Seattle Waterfront Park. In order signed May 1st, the court granted a motion from Friends of Denny Blaine clarifying that the city's abatement plan does not prohibit toplessness in areas marked as clothing required. Okay, so the nude beach isn't allowed to be a nude beach, then is allowed to be a nude beach even though it's not allowed to be a nude beach. This makes perfect sense. Man, Seattle is so stupid. So stupid. Let's go through this for a second here. So you've got this place that was a historic LGBTQ nude beach. That's what they say. Okay. Then what happens is there starts being some riffraff, some problems, starts getting very well documented, some crimes, some issues, and the neighbors complain. And then the neighbors say, hey, we're going to build a playground here. But then they say, no, we're going to shut that down because you are coming after our historically LGBTQ plus minus divided sign land, so you can't do that. So what happens? The riffraff continues, and the crime continues, and the noise continues, and now you've got a problem. So what they decide to do instead is they say, okay, now we got it. Now we got a solution. We're going to put up a fence with a tarp on it. That way you got the naked part and the non-naked part, except you didn't do it side to side. So everybody's got access to the water. Now it's, you want to go to the water, you got to go through the naked people. You want to stay up top, you don't have to see the naked people. Now it's a matter of people were tearing down all the vinyl, people were tearing this down. This thing is out of control. And yet nobody can make a decision. This judge is contradicting himself. Is it a naked beach? Not a naked beach. Okay? I mean, look, if you're topless on the naked beach where you're not allowed to be naked anymore, I think that still counts as nakedness. Or are we going by FX standards? I don't know how this works anymore. You know, like cable TV, we're going by the TNT, and now you're allowed to say F or whatever it is.
Right. Or I would say more closely that it's European standards.
Oh, I see.
Right?
We want to be like the Europeans now.
Well, I'm just saying, if you go on a beach, and I've been on several beaches over there, you'll be taken aback when you see a lady with
things out.
But then you realize very quickly, and you look around and you go, oh yeah. No one even cares because
it's Europe, because that's how they do things here. Yeah.
And then you just kind of go, oh, and then you go about your day.
Yeah.
It's not like
those were not our issues here in Seattle. These issues were different. And if you really want to see Jonathan Cho's video on this, be my guest.
No, I understand. And I'm not talking full blown nudity. I'm talking about topless.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Is like you don't see guys running around or ladies with the bottoms off, but you do see plenty of tops off, which is like,
I just keep thinking of that scene in Eurotrip when they go, okay, we're going to go to that. We're going to go to the beach, and that's all dudes there, right? And then they're just chasing after the one girl. That's whatever. Dirty movie. Don't watch it. Bad for your kids. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Stilgar in Bellevue. Stilgar, what's up, man?
Oh, well, first of all, it's a gorgeous day. Holy cow.
It is.
Don't let other people know that this is what happens out here. Tucker was really, I liked him okay when he was on Fox, but what really annoyed me was that he would get somebody on who was, on the other, and then he would intentionally misrepresent what they were saying and then argue against that, the whole straw man thing. And it made me realize that he really isn't all that smart. He just, he thinks he's clever, but he's really not.
He never struck me as an honest broker, and I never liked his takes. I didn't. I mean, look, I am probably a conservative in the media because I started listening to Sean Hannity. That may have helped at some point, right? And, Sean Hannity, he likes his points, right? But I've never thought he was dishonest in any way, shape, or form. Tucker Carlson, I never liked his points. Never liked him at all, whatever it was. And his interviews, you're right. It was always, I never noticed that before. It was always find something you can nitpick and attack that. It didn't seem like an honest broker. Good point, Stilgar. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Elaine says, used to watch him, but not anymore. He's a hateful anti-Semite, and so is crazy Candace Owens. Yes. kind of seems like the theme now. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Big news locally. Washington State Supreme Court makes a decision regarding the income tax. We'll be talking with Brian Haywood when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Earlier today, a decision came down from the Washington State Supreme Court regarding the challenge from Let's Go Washington to the emergency clause that was allowing Turd Ferguson and crew to bypass the referendum process, which is a lot easier to do, and impose the income tax, and then you would have to do an initiative to repeal the income tax. The difference is a referendum takes a lot less signatures. It also bypasses the Attorney General's office, so they can't do all the shenanigans with the title and such. Immediately when this happened, I called our friend Brian Haywood from Let's Go Washington and said, could you come on the show? A lot of you missed the interview we did earlier in the show, so we decided to replay it again now because so many of you have so many questions. Don't worry, this will go to initiative. We will need your help getting signatures. But here's the interview I did a little bit earlier today with Brian Haywood about what the status of all this is, including the income tax right now.
I wish we were celebrating a victory, but we live in Washington State when it comes to Supreme Court. So
yes,
here we are.
Exactly right. So let me make sure I got this right. Basically, what you guys were challenging was the fact that, once again, there's a kind of emergency clause on this, even though the income tax doesn't go into effect for a couple years. And that means you can't do a referendum, which is a lot easier than an initiative process. Does that about sum it up?
It does. There's some nuance, sort of nuance for nerds, I guess, in the weeds here. The Supreme Court, within the clause, like the emergency clause actually says, here's some emergency things. And in these cases, you can't do the legislature can prevent a referendum. What we've been arguing is that the last piece of that, which is for the necessity of running the state, is included in the emergency. And the court ruled today, basically, no, it doesn't have to be an emergency. They can just decide to do that. So for any reason whatsoever, the legislature can say, we don't want to give voters a right to have a referendum on any tax that we pass. That's essentially what happened today. But there's something really important in what they said. In the wording that the Supreme Court wrote, they said, consistent, I'm going to read this, consistent with the words of the Constitution and our unbroken line of precedent. They basically ruled against us. Now, the reason I think that's super important is because we have, there's a second case, which is the very constitutionality of the income tax itself. And if this court is going to be consistent and hold on to their, as they say, our unbroken line of precedent, there's way more precedent on an income tax being illegal and unconstitutional.
Yes.
So I think we had a small loss today. I would like to have had the referendum, but I think we had a big win, in my view. The court now has set their own standard by which they should be judging the constitutionality of the income tax.
You guys should take a screenshot of that and post that online as soon as possible. We're talking with Let's Go Washington founder Brian Haywood about the decision today. Now, let's make this clear for the audience right now. This still means we can do an initiative, right? That's why on the Let's Go Washington website, people can request those initiative sheets, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
We need people to we're going through the process. We're working through, within the next week or so, I'll have an answer for you whether we're doing an initiative to the people or to the legislature. I've got initiatives for both in the chamber already being reviewed by the Secretary of State and getting ready to be mulled by the Attorney General's office. But we'll make that decision. We'll be out there. What we want is for people to sign up now, and we'll send them sheets as soon as everything's ready.
Right. And as I understand it, the Attorney General gets to write some of the language, which is what they did last time and made it all goofy. I mean, what could they do this time? It's just, should we have an income tax? Should we not have an income tax? End of story. God knows what they're going to do it this time and maybe make you write yes instead of no. Who knows?
Yeah, the big thing that they do, there's two places that they can mess with us. One is there's actually three places that we get messed with. One is they can say, this impacts K through. They just lie. This is K through 12 education. It doesn't matter whether it goes to them or not, and that's a hard thing to overcome at the ballot, and they know it, so they do it. Second thing is they can make it super confusing, so people don't know whether they're voting yes to vote no or no to vote yes, or have a Star-Belly Sneak on their stomach or whatever. They can make it confusing, right?
Yeah.
And then the third thing that's going on, and I think this is sort of a side story, but Bob Ferguson just appointed what's his name? I forgot his last name now. Segal, a guy that's the founder of Pacifica Law, as the new head of the PDC.
Wait a second.
The reason is
his own lawyers who are donating tons of money to him are now in charge of the PDC where you file complaints against the governor?
The very watchdog is Bob Ferguson. The head of the Watchdog Group is Bob Ferguson's personal lawyer and the founder of Pacifica Law. And the reason I'm bringing Pacifica Law up is that when the Attorney General gives a confusing ballot title, Pacifica Law is the major filer of complaints against those titles, right? They say, no, this title isn't confusing enough. And they're really not doing it for the title, although I'm sure there's some little benefit from that. But they're really doing it so they can delay the process. So they wait, like you have like 5 days to challenge the title once the Attorney General writes it. They wait until the last day on Friday at 4 o'clock, and then they throw their challenge in as a tactic to shorten the number of days you have to gather signatures. So these are the processes we've got in front of us right now.
This is crazy, the amount of hoops they're making you jump through. So you guys are ready to deal with this. I mean, they did this to you last time. You successfully got them out there. I think you have a good message this time. It's just a matter of tailoring that message to whatever craziness they come up with for the ballot title and what the language actually says, right?
That's right. And I really think this time what we find is if they can really stick it to the millionaires, if that's the story that sticks, they win. I mean, if we just lay it out there, right? People are like, screw it doesn't hurt me, screw them. But if you get people just asking the question, do you think this will come and impact you? Just asking that very question, it switches 60-40, we win. Right? Because people know, everyone knows, Jamie Peterson's out there just lying his teeth off. The pie crust promise, it wasn't anything, I didn't, whatever he's going to say. No one believes them for a second that this is not going to go. Even their own legislators are saying, this is going to definitely expand. So I think that's part of the message. One is that it's coming for you, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the second thing that people need to the question they need to ask themselves is, even if you support taxes and you think generally that's a good thing, how has the stewardship of your money been with this current legislative body? And I think the fraud and the waste and the loss of money in all layers of government here in Washington State should force you to go, can we just back up a minute and let's get our spending settled first? Let's spend the money wisely before we start raising more money.
Yeah, and they don't do that around here. Brian Haywood, if people want to sign up to get those initiative sheets sent to them or volunteer to go collect signatures, what's the best way for them to do it right now?
Go on letsgowa.com, letsgowa.com. And we've got sign-up sheets, we've got donation sheets, we've got a place for you to sign up to volunteer. You can get all your information there. Letsgowa.com.
Well, while I got you on the phone, whatever you guys need me for those events, gathering signatures, you just let me know. I'm signing up for it, even though it costs me my press pass every time, thanks to the Washington legislature. But I am more than happy to help you guys out for a good cause. And also, everybody needs to realize is the Democrats are going to throw every dollar they possibly can at this because they want your money for the rest of time, which means you need to step up, volunteer, and donate to stop this. Brian Haywood, founder of Let's Go Washington, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it.
You bet. Can I mention one more thing? Do you have a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's really important for people to follow the Supreme Court races this year. There are 5 Supreme Court justices up for election in November. This is unprecedented. We've never had a chance to shape the Supreme Court like this. And we're going to have some decent candidates actually running, which is also sort of unprecedented, against some constitutional guys that are going to run against the we'll do whatever we want Supreme Court. And I hope people will start learning about that, and we'll be putting more information out on that.
Well, also send them my way because we have all these candidates. Send them to us. We'll have them on the show so people can learn more about them. And I'll tell you something else. I think a forum moderated by me and Brandy and a few other people with these judges could be a great event. And then you have the video from that to get their name out in front of more people because the mainstream media won't do it.
I love it. That's a great idea. We'll see what we can do to work that out.
And through the miracle of radio, guess what I was doing in the breaks today? Working that out, so we'll have them. Only good news to wrap up the show. Good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into the weekend. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show. Not week. I said weekend before. It shows you exactly where my mind's at. It's sunny outside, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about the weekend. You know what I think the problem was? Yesterday I spent all day in the car. Between driving my daughter to volleyball practice and running errands all over the place. I even went to, what is it, Half Price Books? What's that place where you get like $2 for 50 books or whatever? Yeah, sat there for 45 minutes so I could get a grand total of $15 and like 86 cents for a bag of DVDs. A whole bunch of DVDs I'm never going to watch again, never going to look at again. Yeah, Half Price Books. By the way, the guy before me, they gave him $56. I never heard of anything over 25. Dude before me, $56. Incredible.
He probably had some good Criterion Collection stuff, some very rare stuff. Yours is all knuckleheaded nonsense that came out like...
Yes.
Like, give me one of the movies that you got rid of.
What was in there? What was
probably like multiple Fast and Furious.
No.
They've
Those
got
I kept. Those I kept. I kept the Police Academy movies. What did I get rid of? I got rid of like a lot of garbage 90s movies.
Yeah.
You know, like Passenger 57, things like
that.
I got rid of some of that.
They probably have plenty of those sitting collecting dusts on the rack.
That's what it was. Speaking of collecting dust, Randy Johnson's number was retired over at the Mariners, number 51. So now there's two number 51s out there in the outfield because him and Ichiro had the exact same number. Kevin, you said you were thinking about going out there this weekend. Did you get out to the game at all? You were talking about possibly hitting that up. Nope.
I didn't make it out this weekend. Yeah. I will be there tonight, and I'll be there tomorrow night.
So that's a lot of baseball. That's awesome.
That is a lot of baseball.
I still haven't been to a game yet this season. I'm like kicking myself right now.
Tonight is my first one.
Okay. So, yeah, I think I'm going out for Father's Day. I think that's when but yesterday I'm driving past the stadium where all these people going, and then I see the Randy Johnson jerseys. I'm like, oh, right, that's today. So they had out there Ichiro Suzuki, Felix Hernandez, Edgar Martinez, Dan Wilson, Jay Buhner, Ken Griffey Jr. They had a whole bunch of people out there. And by the way, his speech and everything, really, really nice. I mean, who doesn't love Randy Johnson? I hear that they actually had fried bird, no, I think that was AI. Yeah, for the bird that got killed by Randy Johnson.
Rotisserie seagull.
There you go. That's going to do it for us today. Fear not, we'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.